Hey y'all, it's Ashley and I'm back with another embellishment video. This time I'm going to try to recreate the Amy Tangerine vellum shapes, and here's the best picture I could find, although I don't think that's actually true to the colors of the original pack, but that's one of the best pictures I could find that wasn't blurry. Okay, so I'm starting by showing you the vellum that I'm going to be using. I am choosing some vellum that's already printed, some vellum that already has gold foil on it, and then I'm going to show you how I dye vellum and then also how I color on vellum. Now, I've done this like maybe once. I have never dyed it. I did it for the purposes of this video, but I've colored on vellum before in the past, and I really forgot how much I liked that technique. And so I've seen that from Christina Werner or maybe Jennifer McGuire, either one of those. So the first thing I'm doing is I just took a Copic marker, and they work because they're alcohol inks and they're permanent. So as soon as you color onto the vellum, it kind of gives, it's not as vibrant as it would be on the white paper, as you can tell. Once I get it on that white paper, you can tell how much more vibrant it is, but I love the variations of blue you can get just by even mixing them. I use two different kinds of blue right here, and you'll see, look how awesome those like clouds blend. Like I didn't try to do that. I was just kind of mixing the colors just because they just ran into each other and they turned out really cool. So every time I color on the vellum, I'm going to I'm going to punch the shape, set them aside, and then at the end you'll see the sewing part. So I'm going to speed this up pretty good because this video is already like 11 minutes long, and I mean, these embellishment videos have been running kind of long, but I typically don't do scrapbook videos that are too long. So I'm punching out some butterflies from two Martha Stewart butterfly punches. You guys have probably all seen these, and I'm going to set those aside. So I did kind of the same thing. I did an ombre look with 3 different variations of pink, and now I'm going to do some yellow and orange and cut some hearts out. And I love those, like the hearts are probably one of my favorite things in this whole thing. So I'm going to keep doing that, and then you'll see as I go, I'm going to layer up. Here I decided to kind of add in the orange just to kind of give it a little bit of something. And then here's where I pulled out alcohol ink. So this is what I mean by dyeing it, and it got a little cray-cray. So I could have just left it like that, but I kind of wanted it to dry a little bit quicker. And so I spread it out, and I also got a nice like even color with that, almost even. And then whenever I just drop it on there, I then set it aside, and here in a second, you'll see I made a huge mess, and that's what I mean by it got crazy. But here's where I'm just dropping the colors on there, and they make a really pretty, like, bold color, although those aren't typically the colors I scrapbook with. I'm more of a soft, like, pink, mint, like that kind of color, but I think it's pretty cool if you want to do a mixed media layout. I really like color, and I want to step out of my comfort zone, too. So here's the way those turned out, and I really thought that, and I let that dry a little bit because I didn't want them to gunk up like my punches. So I'm just using some different size circle punches to punch those out, and then I'm going to continue on with the next technique. And I'm just kind of laying them out to show you guys how those turned out, and then I'm going to I'm going to show you guys how to layer different, or not layer, but stack different washies. So you've 100% seen this technique before. The only difference is I don't really ever see people do it on vellum, and I think you get a truer washi tape look on vellum. I love washi tape on white paper. I think it turns out really good, or even on pattern paper. But I think this is just kind of different. It just shows more of what the washi originally looked like. So I'm not going to fold this over because I don't want to see the washi from the back. And so because the vellum is clear, so I'm just going to cut off those ends, and that makes it easier for me to punch shapes. I'm going to do that with both sides. And then honestly, this I could have used a bunch of different colors. I just chose some random colors just quickly out of my stash, but and I thought they turned out pretty cute. I used banners for this one, and I don't actually sew those together. I just kind of leave those as is, and then you can see my hands are all inky, and then but the rest I do sew. So I'm going back with this pink color. Well, I haven't used this pink color yet, and I thought I needed some like kind of a hotter pink because I can't go without using some sort of bright pink. And then I am gonna use some other different Copics as well. Sorry if I'm a little out of frame there. I didn't realize that I was a little bit off camera. So I'm going to use, I'm going to use a different the hydrangea punch from Martha Stewart here. You can see if you mix the colors a little bit, kind of what you get, and I think those turn out really cool. And then I'm going to also just cut out I'm going to make my own little banners, like the longer banners, and that's going to be like, I'm trying to get as close, not close, but I'm going to try to recreate some of those shapes on the original pack, of Vellum shapes. And so I believe there's like circles, like banner arrows, I think they're banner arrows, and then something else. And so I'm going to try to get as close to those as I possibly can. So I'm going to cut a banner shape on these two. And then I think I'm going to actually cut a banner shape on both of those. And then I'm going to layer those and stitch those together. And then I'm going to cut just a diagonal on these next two pieces and stick those and then layer those together. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is emboss on some of the shapes. So if you look at the original pack, some of them look like they have some, like a slight variation of the original color, almost like a tone-on-tone look, like stripe, I think. And so I try to recreate that. Now, I did not like the way that diagonal rectangular piece turned out, but I loved the way that the circles turned out. So, I mean, it's kind of like, those first ones turned out okay, but the circles really turned out cute and probably looked the most like what the circles look like in that original package. So really you can do this with gold, you can do it with white. You know, the white probably would have looked a little bit better. I just used clear embossing powder, and I believe it's Ranger. And then really had kind of a hard time with that. I just do not like, for some reason, like the feel of the powder and getting all over your desk. I know it was a big mess the way that I did it, but for some reason it was not working. And then I blow these pieces like everywhere. There, you can see them go. You can see them blowing everywhere right there. So I'm just going to heat set those, and then I just went ahead and did that off camera so that I wouldn't bore you guys. And then I am trying to kind of show you what they look like up close, but hopefully you'll see in the final picture. So the last thing I'm going to do is cut up different shapes out of these printed vellum. So I'm going to use the gold foil, I'm going to use the heart punch, and then I'm going to cut some of my own banner shapes. And then I believe I may even use the scallop punch, there it goes, and then a couple of circle punches, and I think that's it. And then I actually, when I put it through my sewing machine, I'm sorry you guys can't see me sew, it's on a completely different table, and it would be a disaster to try to like film that, but maybe at some point I can get it to where I can film my sewing. But anyway, I sew it, I use all the pieces, I put them in all at once. So like, well, not all at once, but one right after the other. I just kept feeding it into the sewing machine because I realized that if I did them individually, that it would take me a year. So I decided not to do that. And I didn't have to rethread or do any of that stuff, or if it came unthreaded or whatever, I just fed it through, and then I just cut them apart, and you'll see kind of how they turn out. And I actually really love the way that it turned out as far as like the banner look of it was really cool. And you'll see, I'll show, I kind of filmed that so that you guys can see. So here's where I'm just kind of separating them, and then I'm going to start combining them with my, I think I use Vellum tape runner. I do. So the ones that I want to be layered, I'm just using that Vellum tape runner to adhere those together. And then, like I said, I'm going to feed them right through my sewing machine. Some of them, like the hearts and some of the butterflies, I layered like 3 together so that they could have some dimension. And then some of them I just like put like a circle right on top of the bigger circle. If you guys can hear my baby, I think my husband's warming up her food and she's sitting in her high chair waiting for it, and she gets super hungry really quick. Like sometimes we don't even have a warning. So he's working on that right now. She doesn't really cry. She just kind of makes some noises like, I'm hungry, feed me. So I think he's warming up her food right now. So I'm just continuing to layer those together, and then you'll see the final. I hope that I filmed the last portion of that. If I didn't, you'll get to see at least the final photos of them separated. And then I think I'm going to finish up here. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and stay tuned for the final pics so you can really see the way that they turned out.